little bit before 8 on a March morning, and we are about 6 months away from departure and heading back up to Manistee to get another load of boat work done before we splash. So we're about a month from putting the boat in the water and heading up north for another winter work day. Why don't you tell everybody what we're going to work on today?
We're going to be checking the engine coolant with the test strip, the foil tape the other side of the engine room, which would be the starboard side. The top of the engine room has all this foil insulation kind of stuff, and it's got foil tape around the edges, and because of the heat and stuff and just age, it was falling and flaky. And I did the port side last time, and some little boat yoga. The bridge fridge, we were going to take it out and measure it and see, because it always freezes up when we use it. It's kind of a pain to defrost it all the time, so we were going to see what our options are there. Track vision, the top part of the roof, we were going to sand it. We had to fill it a few weeks ago, and
we put marine tex in it, and the marine tex still hasn't dried, and we don't know if it's because of the temperature or because of the way we mixed it or whatever, but it's not working out, so we're going to come up with something on that.
Finish inventorying all the boat parts, and Bob will be surprised when he comes that I've kind of organized it. Didn't mess anything up.
Oh,
I cleaned assemble the emergency bilge kit.
Well, there you go. We hope to get most of it done. Doesn't ever seem to work out like that, but the big one is we're meeting a company out of Traverse City, and they are marine electricians. They are coming today to help us do some wiring at the helm with our AIS, but more importantly, to finalize some of the designs for our house battery system that we're going to install. And we'll do more on that later. We'll walk you through the entire house battery design and install, but sort of the first look, first consultation with those guys today, so that'll be kind of neat too. Today I'm going to build and stow away our emergency bilge kit. There's bilges obviously down in the bilge, there's pumps, but we got to thinking, should we strike something or poke a hole in the hull or one of the water tanks let loose? What kind of pump do we have other than our hand pump to get the water overboard? So I bought a high capacity pump and some hose and some long wire and some alligator clips to connect to the battery, and today I'm going to put that kit together, get it stowed away in case we ever take on water. We want it handy. So we've got a large Seaflow 470 pump. I'm not sure how many gallons a minute, but it was about the largest pump they made, and I've got 50 foot of hose to put on it. The thought being that should something in one of the forward hatches need to be pumped out, that we could get the pump down into one of the holes below the floor, and we can run that hose out any one of the ports on the side or into a shower drain, or if we had to run it all the way aft over the back, we have 50 foot of hose, so whatever location on the boat was to start taking out water, we could pump and get that hose to either side of the boat or out the back or through a hatch. We also got quite a bit of 16 gauge 12 volt wire and alligator clips, so again, that anywhere we need to take that pump, we can connect it down into the batteries and then deploy that pump anywhere in the boat that we need to. And in the event of taking out water, usually the batteries are the last things functioning should it be a serious situation. So we have a way to connect it to the battery and plenty of wire to get to the battery no matter where the pump ends up being, and then we have plenty of hose to discharge the water overboard. So we're going to get started putting that kit together. So what we have here is a C-Flow 4,700 gallon per hour 12 volt pump, obviously bigger than most of the bilge pumps on the boat. Some alligator clips. I think it's got about 6 feet of cable on the clips. Some matching gauge wire so we can extend the reach of those alligator clips. And we have 50 foot of hose here. It's 2-inch hose. Connect onto the end of this pump. So first thing we're going to do is get the wiring connections made and wire them to the pump, and then we will attach the hose with some clamps, and hopefully it fits all in this nice box that we can keep somewhere handy in case there's an emergency. So I'm going to get started connecting some wires. So first thing we did was make sure that everything was tinned wire. It's kind of hard to find alligator clips and wire that was tinned, but we have to use tinned wire in a marine environment to cut down on corrosion. So we're going to join the wires together with these double connectors. We're going to heat shrink them onto the wire, and then we're going to cover them with some heat shrink so the connections are nice and tight and waterproof. These connectors have an adhesive that you can see sort of activate and stick itself to the wire. Once it starts to shrink down, you can sort of see the adhesive grab. There we go. We got the butt-end connector. We have it all sealed with the heat shrink that is part of the butt connector. Now we're going to slide this additional heat shrink over top to make sure that that connection stays waterproof and watertight. Okay, there you have it. Negative, positive wires joined together, all covered with ooey gooey shrink wrap so that they're nice and watertight. Makes the connection really strong also, so that we don't have to worry about in a panic pulling too hard on the wires. This will help hold them together. So those two are done. So now we're going to go to the other end of the extension wire, remove these eye clips here, and connect the other end of the wire. I found a larger piece of heat shrink that I'm going to slide over the wires, so that when I make the connection and get those all wrapped, I can possibly slide this bigger one down over to cover both of them and reduce tangling or the wire pulling apart more than it needs to. So we're going to give it a try. We'll see how it works. So we got lucky, and the larger shrink wrap fits over both connections, so we're going to shrink that on there and hopefully help keep the wires together and keep them from continuing to pull apart here. On the alligator clip end, we joined the extension wire to the clips, and we wrapped it with this extra big piece of shrink wrap. Add a little strength so when it's getting tugged around, and then we follow it all the way around, all 30 feet, and we did the same thing where it connects to the pump wires, just for an added little strength. And I also put some shrink wrap on the two wires that come off the pump in a couple spots, just because these wires came separately and I could just see them getting tangled, and I'm pretty sure when it's time to deploy this pump, that it's not going to be a calm situation, and so the less tangles or wires pulling apart, the better. So now we're going to get to work on the hose. Here we have it. The alligator clips came with a nice Velcro wrap, so the cord's all wrapped up. The hose is connected to the pump. I might want to put another hose clamp on here, I'm not sure yet. And the hose is all coiled up, ready to deploy with a tent bungee on there. So it's all ready to go. We're calling it a success, other than the waterproof box is too small. So you can never have enough waterproof boxes on the boat, but I'm going to go ahead and order the next size bigger. And we're going to call the emergency bilge pump project done. The small box found a use as our flares holder and some of our safety equipment. We found the next size bigger box, and the completed emergency bilge pump fits in there nice and snug. Andromeda's engine coolant is a sealed system. The manufacturer recommends changing the coolant every 2 years or 6,000 hours. We know Andromeda had the coolant changed in 2021. As part of our pre-departure checklist, we check the coolant level before each trip. But today we need to use these test strips to test the quality of the engine coolant. Coolant testing ensures that the engines are protected internally from pitting and corrosion from improper supplemental coolant additive levels, and that the freeze points of the coolant in the system remain within the proper levels, all of which is designed to help protect the engines as the coolant naturally breaks down over time and between changing cycles. It was all new to us, but thankfully everything checks out.
We almost need these grabbers with, we'll have to look at different kinds of these grabbers. Because you almost want one that's like a chip clip.
How come every time we come here to work, I find you tucked into the weirdest corner?
I don't know, whatever this to-do list you got going here.
It's our list.
Jaded, you're right.
Our list.
Our list is jaded.
All freshly taped, all the insulations re-secured.
Yeah, it was kind of falling apart in a lot of spots, and it was old tape that they put on that had lost the sticky, so then it was just kind of a residuey, powdery stuff that was getting all over, so.
Looks good. We are taking a little break from the boatyard to have some lunch and stretch our legs. We enjoy exploring the little shops and stores in downtown Manistee. We're looking forward to doing the same in all the ports and small towns while underway. So this is one of our favorite stops every week when we come up to Manistee. Friend Luke, Up North Collectors. always come in and check out all the cool stuff he's got. It's a great store. He's a great guy.
We're at Up North Collectors, Sports Cards and More here in Northern Michigan. And we've been open for just under a year now. So we're in downtown Manistee, Michigan, right on sort of the main drag of downtown. And I'm pretty excited to be down here. I'm Luke Coy. I've owned a store now for just under a year, but I've done business for 3 or 4 years. 19 years old after graduating high school, opened this. So yeah, so decided to open it after high school just because pretty much one thing I was kind of bored. Like during COVID, I was bored, wanted to flip cards. That's what I did.
Yeah.
And then kind of grew it through flipping stuff and just other experiences and going to shows. And it turned into, I wanted to actually start a Pokemon card subscription box company in 2020.
Really?
And it did very, very well. Did over 6 figures in sales in the first year. And I like sports cards at the same time. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try to open a store. I'll find a little office space kind of thing and open a little, not really a full store. And then it kind of turned into a store.
Yeah.
And then it turned into a much bigger store after being
Was
open.
that the
for a
smaller
month.
store over
That
by
was the smaller
Sings?
store over by Sings, yep.
Were you into cards, like, because your dad was always kind of into cards?
My dad collected cards forever, and then he took a break, but when I was 4 years old, I got $1 and a pack of cards every week for doing chores. I think it was like sweeping the kitchen. 2008 Topps Football Hobby Box, first thing I ever opened. In the first box, it had a Drew Brees jersey card, which I sold at some point. I wish I still had to buy one back eventually, but that was the first card that I ever remember pulling, was that Drew Brees jersey card
And then
out
you
of
were
that box, and
addicted?
was hooked after that. Yep. So every time I went to Walmart, it would make, either bring $1 with me or save up to buy a pack from Walmart for $2. And then in 2013, we got really big into it and started opening boxes and packs. I don't even really know how that happened. I think we started watching some YouTube videos or something. And it's like, oh, that'd be fun. We started doing it together.
But that's awesome to do with your dad.
Yeah, and that's what we did. So me and my dad have opened cards together. This is over 10 years of us sitting together, at least once or twice a week and opening cards together.
Oh, that is what a
it's
cool
pretty
thing.
awesome. Yeah, it's been fun. I mean,
Yeah.
just doing it and having him here, and now he gets to work here for me, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool, and he loves it too, I think.
How do people get a hold of you? How do they find the store? How do they find your YouTube channel? How do they get in on a break?
Yeah, so it's just Up North Collectors. We have a website, upnorthcollectors.com, which is the place to go for everything. Instagram's Up North Collectors. If you just search Up North Collectors, you Google it, everything should come up on the first page, and pretty much everything's on there. The breaks are on the website. All the content's on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook as well. I think that's pretty much it. Some TikTok stuff too now, but all of that together. So that's how you can get a hold of us. You can call the shop, email us, whatever. Get a hold of us that way.
Well, the electricians have gone home for the day and did a great job of getting everything wired in at the helm. Like I said, we had mostly had all the wires in there, but they got everything mounted and it's looking pro and it's looking good. So we've got the Raymarine VHF unit mounted. It is wired into the C-Talk NEMA 2000 system, so it should work with our graphs and our electronics. Just below to the right of that is the AIS that is mounted and now wired in, and so all of that looks good. And we brought some 12-volt wiring down in underneath the helm, again all the way up the sidewall, through the ceiling, and all the way up to the front, because we are going to be inserting a solid piece of glass in the center isinglass opening there, and they ran the wiring through the ceiling, left it coiled up, because the new windshield that comes in also has a wiper motor that will mount at the top that we can control from the helm. So wiring is in place. We're going to take a few minutes now and put all of the cover plates back together and try and transform this back into a proper helm. And so there you go. The ceiling's all put back together. Side panels all put back together. Underneath the helm, everything's looking good. And wouldn't you know it, just as we scratch one thing off, we decided to measure for maybe a new fridge underneath here, and found a gigantic storage area behind the fridge. And chances are that's what it's going to be. You just never know. One thing gets done, and there's 3 more things to do.